The Channel Island cast-on is a traditional cast-on that is very, very pretty for the bottom of sweaters when you have a 1 by 1 rib. It forms a little bump there, a little bit like a picot, and it's extremely pretty and extremely stretchy. So it's good for the top of socks. In order to make the cast-on reinforced, what we're going to do is we're going to, like for a long tail, we're going to measure a length of yarn, but this time instead of measuring 3 to 4 times, we're going to double that. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to double this to make the thumb strand, the strand that's going to go over the thumb, doubled. So at this end here, I'm going to make a slip knot. This will not count as a stitch. It's just to secure the yarn on the needle right now, just to hold it there until we're done with the cast on and we have our first row knitted, worked, and then we can just remove these 2 stitches here in the slip knot. That way it's less bulky. So the first thing to do is to bring your yarn to the front, the index yarn to the front, like for a yarn over. Now you will wrap the yarn around your thumb, but remember in long tail we would wrap it by turning our thumb clockwise. This time we're gonna catch the yarn from front to back counterclockwise, and we're gonna do it twice. So now we have 4 strands around our thumb here. We will go into that loop knitwise with our needle, throw the yarn, the index yarn, around the needle, and bring those 4 strands here on top of the needle, and like if you were just knitting regularly. Now it kind of helps to tighten the front of this loop here to regulate the distance between the stitches, and then pull on the tail yarn to tighten this little picot here that you will get. Now bring the index yarn to the front again, like to do if you wanted to do a yarn over. We're gonna catch the yarn around our thumb from front to back counterclockwise, turn it twice, go into these 4 strands, this big loop there, throw your yarn over the needle, the index yarn over the needle like in regular knitting, bring this big loop over the stitch, tighten the front of it a little bit here, and then the tail yarn. This is something you should not do too fast. You want it to be nice and regular. You want it to look good. So index brings the yarn like in a pro position, like for a yarn over. Roll the yarn around your thumb counterclockwise until you get 4 strands here. Go through these 4 strands, throw the yarn, the index yarn over the needle, bring the 4 strands over and release. Tighten the front a little bit to make this even, and then tighten the tail yarn. Bring the yarn in front like a yarn over, counterclockwise inside the big 4-strand loop, around the needle, the loop over, tighten the front of that loop, and then the tail yarn. If you're doing it flat, when you turn it around to work the first row, the first stitch here is the stitch with the bump. On the right side, it has to be a knit. So this is the wrong side now of the knitting. So you should purl this first stitch, and you should knit the yarn overs. That's on the wrong side. On the right side, the yarn overs are going to be knits, are going to be purls, and whenever there's a little bump here, that's going to be a knit. Now if you were doing that in the round, just look at the ones with the little bumps, they're knits, and the yarn overs are purls, so you don't have to be as concentrated when you're doing it in the round. You just have to look at which ones have the bumps. But if you're doing it where back and forth, then you do have to remember that on the wrong side, the stitches with the little bumps are purls and the yarn overs are knits.